Starting normal recording. The boss of ASIO, Mike Burgess, has confirmed that investigations are continuing. Now, as a result of this, his Iranian ambassador is being expelled. He has 7 days to leave the country, along with several other staff. The Australian Embassy in Tehran is being closed. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC, will be declared a terrorist organisation. ASIO has been investigating dozens of incidents. Now, not all anti-Semitic attacks can be traced back to Iran, but critically, these were 2 of the most significant, particularly the synagogue firebomb in Melbourne. And the Prime Minister and ASIO, along with the AFD, have no doubt now Iran is directly responsible. The opposition leader, Susan Lee, joins me. Thank you for your time, Ms. Lee.
Pleasure to join you, Clinton, and speak with your listeners.
This has been unfolding, obviously, in Canberra, Parliament House, over the past few hours. Were you briefed by the Prime Minister or the Department, ASIO, before this was made public?
The opposition was briefed by the Prime Minister just before the announcement was made. We both stood in Parliament and we offer unequivocal bipartisan support to what is the response of the government to one of the most egregious acts of foreign interference against our nation since, I have to say, the darkest days of the Cold War. And I know Australians are shocked and feeling quite chilled that another country could be behind these attacks, and it is entirely appropriate that we list the IRGC that you just mentioned as a terrorist organisation. We expel the Iranian ambassador, and that we make a very clear, strong we send a very clear, strong message to Australia's Jewish community, because they deserve safety every single day, not excuses, and this must be the start of a broader crackdown on Iranian regime proxies, foreign interference, intimidation in Australia. And we've got one of the best in Mike Burgess, the Director of Security, who's leading much of this work. And as I often say, Clinton, Australians don't know what these agencies and our security people are dealing with, but they need to have the confidence they're the best in the business.
This has all been happening behind the scenes now for some months, well, certainly since October last year. You just mentioned that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard will be described as a terrorist organisation, categorised as that. In practice, given we've hardly had wonderful relations with Iran, it's a dictatorship, what's that actually going to mean?
Well, a listed terrorist organisation is exactly that, and that will affect activities, penalties, issuing of visas, connections with the regime overseas with respect to people on Australian soil, and much more. And I do want to say we have a wonderful Iranian diaspora here. I've met many of them over the years. They have fled this evil regime, and they deal with their experiences every day, and this is not about them. It is about a terrorist organisation that has carried out these attacks with one intent in mind, which is to terrify our Jewish community. This is an anti-Semitic attack of the highest order, and as you just said, Clinton, there are others that haven't.
We see that it's played out in our streets now every weekend. We saw what happened on the weekend, and it's not to say that all the people who took part in the protest necessarily on the weekend are supportive of Iran. Of course they're not. Some would be, but a lot of them wouldn't be. But this is the end result, isn't it? It divides Australia.
Well, by directing these attacks against the Australia's Jewish communities, what the Iranian regime is seeking to do is strike fear into the hearts of Australian Jewish people. And more than that, by hiding their hand in the way they clearly have attempted to do, and present these attacks as coming from within the community, that actually is then seeking to instigate further violence and unrest. And again, we just really commend the diligent work of the police intelligence officers who investigated these crimes, uncovered the hidden hand, and that is, of course, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps.
I appreciate your time today, Susan.
Many thanks, Clinton.
Susan, the federal opposition leader, the leader of the coalition, and the actions of the Prime Minister today has bipartisan support. Susan Lee, in a statement, Chris Minns has released a statement in support, as has the opposition leader, Mark Speakman. The boss of ASIO is Mike Burgess, and he has confirmed that ASIO is still investigating.
ASIO is still investigating possible Iranian involvement in a number of other attacks, but I want to stress we do not believe the regime is responsible for every act of anti-Semitism in Australia. It goes without saying, the Iran's actions are utterly unacceptable. They put lives at risk, they terrified the community, and they tore at our social fabric. Iran and its proxies literally and figuratively lit the matches and fanned the flames. I want to assure all Australians that ASIO and our law enforcement partners take these matters extremely seriously. You don't just have the right to be safe, you have the right to feel safe.
Mike Burgess, the head of ASIO, in past 5, this major police operation is continuing in the Victoria Alpine region this evening, around the town of Pulpakia. Now that's near Brighton, so it's the high country of Victoria. 2 police officers have been executed today. Another's dying for life in hospital. Has been airlifted back to Melbourne. It's about 300 kilometres out of Melbourne. Police are searching for a man, and we believe he has some family members with him. The man they believe is responsible for these shootings. He is yet to be located. This town has been locked down this afternoon. Victoria Premier Jacinta Allen has spoken.
Police Minister and I have been briefed by the Chief Commissioner of Victoria Police that the situation remains active. Victoria Police officers and all of our first responders show extraordinary bravery and courage every single day. They are the best of us, and the thoughts of all Victorians are with them today. I do ask the Victorian community, particularly those in that beautiful part of our state, to follow the advice of Victoria Police and avoid the area.
Victoria Premier Jacinta Allen, and there are more police now being deployed to the high region to try to track down this man. 14 past 5, well, technically it's only 24 degrees in some regions of Sydney, so it feels like it's spring. Next week is spring. Now, we've been talking a lot about property on the show. Just yesterday, the government announced that they're bringing more than 5% deposits in those home buyers. Usually spring is a time when you see a lot of property buyers out of course. We then have 3 interest rate cuts from the Reserve Bank, and it seems that spring is going to be a fairly hot time in the property market. I want to speak with Scott Cruz. Scott Cruz from Freedom Property Investors, and you know they're sponsors of the program, but I wanted to talk to him just off the back of what's been announced by the government this week, and now that the weather is changing, what that means for property in the next month or so. Hello, Scott. Do you think spring, given that finally after last weekend, the coolness is disappearing, we've had these interest rate cuts from the Reserve Bank and other announcements made by the federal government, is that going to really provide a big charge to the market?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And my prediction is properties under that $1.5 million mark, especially anything under $1.2 million, will increase between 100 and 200 grand between now and March next year. So I don't want to ring the alarm bells, but I want to share a few stats and numbers that people may not be aware of. So Commonwealth Bank, right, they get phone calls and people down the branch, like, requesting loans and pre-approvals to go out and buy property. So they are saying that people requesting a pre-approval to go shopping for a property is up 12% on the same time last year. And in addition to that, because we've had 3 rate cuts, these people can now borrow about 13% more than what they could before all the rate cuts. So we've got 12% more people with 13% more money out there in the market. Now, just last week, we had about 700 odd properties in Sydney go to auction. About 500 odd were sold. That's a clearance rate of almost 80%. And traditionally, that is a hot market. Traditionally, when we have seen that over the past 10, 15 years or so, that's been a lead indicator that we're going to see prices jump.
Yesterday, as I mentioned, the Albanese government brought forward their guarantee. So effectively, first-time buyers can buy a property with 5% deposit, pay no mortgage insurance. What do you think that's going to happen?
What it means is, people typically need 20% to get in the market, okay? And that's a big hurdle for people. You can get a 10% deposit. You've got to get lender's mortgage insurance, so it means you need 12 or 13%. This policy means people only need potentially 5% to get in. So we've got 12% more people with 13% more money, and a lot of people that typically couldn't.
accredited team handles everything from tree removal, hedging, palm cleaning, and more safely and efficiently. OWS Arbor, committed to the environment.
Oh, look what we got. Look what we got. Look, wow.